You don't need to prove your worth to a man. You don't need to chase, convince, or explain yourself into being chosen. A high-value woman doesn't tell a man who she is. She shows him quietly, through energy, through presence, through the little things she does and doesn't do. These are the 5 subtle habits that make a man stop, stare, and feel this woman is different. You don't rush to fill the silence. When he goes quiet, you don't panic, you don't scramble to keep him entertained or to make sure he's comfortable. You sit in that silence gracefully because you're not afraid of space. A high-value woman understands that silence is not rejection, it's reflection. And in that moment, your calmness tells him, I'm not here to perform, I'm here to connect. Men feel that. They don't always understand it, but they feel it. There's something almost sacred about a woman who's comfortable in silence. When she's talking to a man and the words pause, she doesn't scramble to fill the space. She doesn't laugh nervously, change the subject, or rush to prove she's interesting. She simply rests in that quiet, unbothered, grounded calm. Because she knows silence is not rejection. It's not a threat. It's a moment of presence. Most people rush to fill silence because they fear disconnection. They think if I'm not speaking, he'll lose interest. But the truth is, when you rush to fill every second, you rob the moment of oxygen. You don't give the connection time to breathe. A high-value woman understands this instinctively. She knows that silence is not the absence of connection. It's often where connection deepens. Think about the most meaningful moments in your life. They're rarely filled with noise. When someone you love holds your gaze, when laughter fades into stillness, when you both just exist in the same energy, that's intimacy, and it can't be rushed. When you sit comfortably in silence, you communicate confidence on a level beyond words. You're saying, I'm safe in my own presence. You're saying, I don't need to perform to be worthy of attention. That energy is magnetic because a man can feel when a woman is at peace with herself. It shows in her body language, the relaxed shoulders, the soft eyes, the way she breathes easily instead of fidgeting. He feels that calm and begins to mirror it. Without even realizing it, he leans in. You see, most men spend their lives surrounded by noise, people talking over each other, trying to impress, trying to be heard. But when he meets a woman who doesn't force conversation, who can sit in the stillness with confidence and warmth, it disarms him. It tells him she's not trying to be chosen, she already knows she's the prize. And here's the subtle beauty, silence allows curiosity to grow. When you don't fill every pause, he starts wondering what's happening behind your calm smile. He begins to think about you, to lean forward, to engage deeper. It's human nature. We chase what we can't immediately define. This doesn't mean you play cold or distant. The feminine version of silence is not icy, it's serene. It's the kind of quiet that feels warm, safe, and self-assured. It's a pause filled with grace, not with tension. So the next time a conversation dips, take a breath, smile softly. Let your eyes do the speaking. You'll be surprised how often the other person, especially a man, fills that silence not with small talk but with truth. Because your calm energy gives him permission to open up, to be real, to step out from behind his mask. And that's what high-value feminine energy really is. It's not loud, not desperate, not performative. It's the kind of quiet strength that says, I don't chase validation. I create comfort. When you stop rushing to fill the silence, you start hearing more what he's truly saying, how he's showing up, whether his energy matches yours. Silence becomes your filter, your teacher, your mirror. So sit with it, let it breathe, let him feel your calm instead of hearing your words, because sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can say is nothing at all. 2, you compliment with intention, not impulse. When you compliment him, it's never flattery for attention. It's appreciation with presence. You notice his effort, his growth, his quiet wins, not just his looks, because a high-value woman doesn't use compliments to please. She uses them to connect. Your words carry weight because you don't give them away cheaply, and that's what makes him value every syllable that leaves your lips. A high-value woman doesn't give compliments to win approval. She gives them to connect, and that makes all the difference. You see, most people throw around compliments like confetti, fast, automatic, and forgettable. But a high-value woman, she speaks with intention. Every word she gives carries weight. When she compliments a man, it's not random. It's not to make him like her more or to fill an awkward pause. It's because she's genuinely noticed something. Something real, something meaningful, something earned. Maybe it's not about how he looks, but how he shows up. The way he keeps his word, the way he remembers the little things, the quiet way he protects, leads, or cares. When you see and appreciate those things, you're speaking to a man's core, and that's what makes him stop and take notice. Because men hear praise all the time for what's obvious, their job, their looks, their charm, but what they rarely hear is recognition for their effort. And when you speak to a man's effort, he feels seen, respected, and grounded in your presence. You're not feeding his ego, you're awakening his masculine purpose. You're showing him that your attention is thoughtful, not thirsty. And that difference is subtle but unforgettable. When you compliment with intention, you're telling him, I notice things that most people miss. You're saying, my attention has value. And suddenly, your words become rare currency. He doesn't take them for granted because you've shown that your praise isn't cheap. It's earned. That's what makes your compliments land deeper, because they come from awareness, not impulse. It's also what separates a high-value woman from one who's still chasing. The chasing woman gives too much too soon. She floods him with validation, hoping he'll mirror it back, but he doesn't, because subconsciously he feels there's no energy exchange, no mystery, no balance. But when you, as a high-value woman, offer a single grounded compliment, it stays with him, it echoes, he replays it because it came from someone who doesn't hand them out like candy, someone whose opinion means something. And here's the quiet truth, your compliment doesn't even have to be verbal. It can be the way you look at him when he's focused on something he loves, the way you nod with subtle admiration when he talks about his goals, the way you smile, not to flatter, but to acknowledge. That's feminine grace. It's admiration without attachment. It's praise without need. It's warmth without giving away your power. A man feels that in his bones, because your energy says, I see you, but I don't need you to see me back. And that kind of emotional independence is irresistible. So the next time you feel the urge to compliment impulsively, pause, ask yourself, am I saying this to connect or to be accepted? If it's connection, say it. Let it be soft, slow, and real. But if it's for validation, breathe instead. Let the silence say more than the words ever could. Because when you compliment with intention, your energy tells him something words never can, that your approval is a privilege, not a pursuit. And in a world full of noise and flattery, that quiet sincerity makes you unforgettable. 3. You don't overshare, you let him earn access. You don't rush to tell your whole story in the first few conversations. You share in layers. You let him discover you. Because mystery isn't about hiding, it's about honoring your depth. A high-value woman knows not everyone deserves instant access to her world. And when a man senses that quiet boundary, he steps up with curiosity, respect, and effort. A high-value woman doesn't rush to tell her whole story. She doesn't hand out her past, her pain, or her dreams to anyone who simply asks. Because she knows not everyone has earned access to her inner world. Oversharing often comes from a beautiful place, the desire to connect, to be known, to feel seen. But when that openness isn't met with equal effort, it becomes self-betrayal. You give pieces of yourself to someone who hasn't shown they'll hold them carefully. And that's what a high-value woman understands, that vulnerability isn't a gift you throw into the wind. It's something sacred, something that should be earned. So she doesn't rush. She allows her story to unfold layer by layer, not as a game, not as manipulation, but as emotional wisdom. Because real connection takes time. It's not built in a night of sharing every childhood memory or heartbreak story. It's built through consistent presence, through actions, through listening, through mutual curiosity. When you hold a little mystery, when you don't reveal everything at once, you invite a man to pursue your depth, to ask more questions, to prove his consistency, to show that he's emotionally safe enough to handle your truth. That's not playing hard to get, that's being discerning. And here's what happens energetically when you do this. That's how a man begins to value your inner world, not because it was freely offered, but because he worked for it. And that journey of earning access, that's what deepens attraction. Because men don't fall in love with what they instantly understand, they fall in love with what they gradually feel privileged to know. A high-value woman isn't afraid of being known. She's just selective about who gets to know her. She knows that being mysterious doesn't mean being distant. You shift from being the open book he skims through to becoming the novel he wants to take his time understanding, because when everything is given too soon, there's nothing left to discover. But when you let your story unfold slowly, he leans in, not just out of curiosity, but out of respect. He starts realizing that your openness is not guaranteed. It's earned through trust, consistency, and emotional safety. It means being intentional. She's open enough to be warm, but private enough to be intriguing. She can share light-hearted stories, humor, and dreams, but she saves the deeper chapters for someone who's shown emotional maturity. This calm control of energy communicates something powerful. My story is precious, my time is sacred, and I choose who earns my truth. When a man feels that boundary, that subtle restraint, he doesn't see coldness. He sees value. He senses that you're not performing for connection, you're protecting your peace. And that kind of energy changes everything. Because in a world where so many rush to prove they're lovable, you remind him that love isn't something you prove, it's something you share when it's safe. So let him earn it, let him show up, let him ask the deeper questions. Because when you stop oversharing, you stop chasing understanding and start attracting respect. And that is the quiet power of a woman who knows her worth. You hold eye contact without needing to be understood. There's something powerful about your gaze, not seductive, steady. You look at him when you speak, not to seek validation, but to connect through truth. That calm eye contact says, I'm not trying to win you over, I'm simply being me. That energy, it disarms his ego and awakens his heart. There's something quietly magnetic about a woman who can hold eye contact, not in a way that demands attention, but in a way that simply exists in her power. When she looks at a man, she's not searching for approval, she's not asking to be seen, she's already seen herself. Her gaze doesn't chase, it invites, it's soft, steady, calm, like she knows exactly who she is and she's at peace with being known or not. A high-value woman's eye contact has depth because it's rooted in self-trust. She doesn't need to prove confidence, she embodies it. She looks at a man not to test him, but to connect with truth. You can always tell when a woman's energy comes from peace, not performance. When her eyes meet yours, there's no anxiety, no rush to fill the space. She's not wondering what you think of her, she's simply there, fully present, fully grounded. That kind of presence makes people, because it's rare, it's the kind of stillness that cuts through noise, ego, and games. When you hold eye contact without needing to be understood, you tell the world, I know my worth, even if you don't see it yet, and that confidence doesn't scream, it whispers, but that whisper echoes. Men can feel it. It's not the flirtatious stare that seeks validation, it's the subtle, composed energy that says, I'm not afraid of being seen. Because when a woman truly sees herself, her gaze becomes powerful. It stops being a question and starts being a statement. And here's the secret. Holding eye contact is not just about confidence, it's about emotional safety. When you're comfortable in your own presence, your energy tells him he can relax too. You give him silent permission to drop his guard, to be more authentic. In that stillness, that shared gaze, something shifts, connection deepens. Words become unnecessary and time seems to slow down, because for a moment he's not looking at a woman trying to impress him. He's looking at a woman who's unmoved by external validation. You see, there's a difference between wanting to be seen and being ready to be seen. The first comes from insecurity. The second comes from wholeness. A high-value woman isn't afraid of how she's perceived because she no longer builds her identity around someone else's gaze. Her eye contact says, I'm here, I'm enough, I'm not hiding. But it also says, I'm not waiting for you to define me. And that subtle emotional independence is mesmerizing, because most people make eye contact to connect outward. You as a high-value woman do it from within. You're not asking, do you see me? You're simply saying, I see myself. It's that kind of calm power that makes a man slow down. It makes him wonder, what is it about her? He can't quite name it, but he feels it. He feels peace. He feels depth. He feels that your confidence isn't rehearsed, it's real. So the next time you look at someone, don't look to convince. Don't look to decode what they feel about you. Just be there. Let your gaze be soft, honest, and unwavering. Because a woman who can hold eye contact without needing to be understood is a woman who already understands herself. And that is the quiet kind of confidence that never has to compete. 5. You leave first with warmth. You don't drag conversations. You don't linger out of fear of missing a moment. You end things gracefully with a smile, a soft tone, and an energy that says, I enjoyed this, but my life is full, and I have more to return to. That subtle act shows him you have boundaries, priorities, and peace. It's one of the quietest, most magnetic signals of value. There's a quiet kind of power in a woman who knows when to leave, not out of ego, not to play games, but because she understands the rhythm of connection and she knows when to let a moment end gracefully. When she's in a conversation, she's fully present, she listens, she laughs, she connects, but when it's time to go, she doesn't linger hoping for more validation. She doesn't stretch the moment past its beauty. She ends it softly, with warmth, with grace, with self-respect. And that is magnetic, because most people overstay. They fear that if they leave too soon, they'll be forgotten. But the high-value woman knows the opposite is true. Leaving at the right time leaves a mark. It makes her presence echo long after she's gone. When you end a conversation with calm confidence, a gentle smile, a kind tone, a "this was lovely, I'll see you soon," you create an energy of mystery and peace. You're saying, my life is full, I don't need to hold on to moments, I create them. And that energy doesn't just speak, it lingers, because men can feel when a woman isn't afraid to walk away, not out of rejection, but out of self-awareness. She's not cutting off connection. She's simply honoring her time, her energy, her boundaries. It's that soft feminine strength that says, I know when enough is enough. I know when to leave while it's still beautiful. And that's something men remember. When you leave first with warmth, you show emotional maturity. You're not chasing closure. You're not waiting to be dismissed. You gracefully close the moment yourself, which tells him you're in control of your energy. It's never abrupt, it's never cold, it's simply composed. You leave the space with kindness, like someone who knows she'll be missed, but doesn't need to prove it. There's an elegance in that, a rare kind of confidence that whispers, I'm not afraid of endings because I trust in new beginnings. And here's the beautiful truth. When you walk away with warmth, you leave the door open for respect. He feels drawn towards you, not because you made an exit, but because your energy feels light, whole, and peaceful. You're not leaving to trigger a reaction. You're leaving because you trust your intuition, that quiet voice that says this moment has served its purpose. A high-value woman doesn't measure her worth by how long she's desired. She measures it by how aligned she feels. And when the moment no longer feeds her energy, she lets it go. And yet the beauty of her departure is this: she doesn't leave with resentment or cold detachment. She leaves with softness, with gratitude for the connection, however brief it was. That's why her presence never feels transactional. It feels real. It feels human. It feels like peace wrapped in elegance. And that peace, that's what keeps her unforgettable. So remember, you don't need to stay to be remembered. You don't need to overgive to be valued. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to end a beautiful moment beautifully. Smile, say goodbye, leave first with warmth, and let the silence that follows speak your value louder than words ever could. When a man meets a woman like this, he doesn't just see beauty, he feels presence. He doesn't just hear her words, he feels her peace. And in a world full of noise, she becomes his calm. So remember, it's never about saying, I'm a high-value woman. It's about being one in moments so small, they whisper louder than words ever could. If this message spoke to your heart, make sure you tap that vein, because you deserve to be seen, cherished, and chosen. Not for how much you give, but for the woman you already are. This is Love Unlocked, where we don't chase love, we attract it by being unforgettable.